Welcome to Cosmic Soul Sisters. We are a portal to all things mystical, magical, and spiritual, and we're hoping to raise the collective consciousness one conversation at a time. I'm your Cosmic Soul Sister, Shara.
And I'm your Cosmic Soul Sister, Leah.
And in today's episode, we will be talking about some pretty big topics, including the nature of reality, the matrix, the Mandela Effect, and we couldn't be more excited to introduce our guest, Shane Robinson, from the YouTube channel Unbiased and on the Fence. Shane is the author of the book Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe, and he's a presenter on topics such as the quantum field and the Mandela Effect. He's an artist and a musician and BQH practitioner, and we'll go into that in a little more detail, I hope, on this conversation. So Shane, we're so grateful that you're here. Welcome.
I am so happy to be your Cosmic Soul brother, Cosmic Soul Sisters.
You're our first Cosmic Soul brother.
Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Absolutely. So we have some pretty heavy topics to talk about, some pretty mind-blowing topics. But first, to kind of set the stage, lighten the mood a little bit, I wanted to ask you what your first concert was that you ever went to.
First concert, gosh, that's a good question. Probably my first secular concert, because I was raised really strict, Christian. I can remember that one because I went to a lot of, Christian concerts and things like that. But I believe my first actual concert was Michael Bolton in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Nice.
And it's actually interesting the way it was really synchronistic, because I heard Michael Bolton on the radio, of course, but he wasn't like someone I would have bought a CDs or anything at the time. You know what I mean? I just happened to be driving by the Mabee Center and listening to the radio, and they were like, we're giving we have 4 tickets left or something, free tickets to give out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like right here. So I went right in. I was like, I'll try it, and it was before cell phones. So I had to call my mom on the pay phone and tell her I wouldn't be home, and went to this concert. It was awesome. And I actually cried in there. I'd never I didn't think you could experience something like that at a non-religious concert, but when he did that song Back on My Feet Again, it was like, I don't think there was a dry eye in the place, because there was just so much emotion and feeling, and everyone could feel it. And it was like, I guess that was kind of like an eye-opening experience for me, that you could have these profound, very profound experiences outside of a religious context. So now looking back on it, I know it was really important that I sort of broadened my thinking at that point, because I was a teenager, and like I said, I was so sheltered that I didn't ever experience anything like that,
Right. So for our listeners that maybe haven't heard of you, would you mind sharing a little bit about your background, speaking about especially growing up the way you did, and kind of how you got from there to where you are now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born into a multiracial family, mainly black and white, but I have a mixture of other races. And both of my parents were opposite in their political views. So I had this, I guess, dichotomy of growing up or whatever, being faced with all of the different things, all the different perspectives or whatever. So I start with that because that led me to the Unbiased and on the Fence YouTube channel right now, to where it's like I do look at both sides and try not to really jump in with both feet to any particular view, and that allows you to be more open-minded and sort of understand where people are coming from, and it really tears down the walls that separate us, because we all want the same thing. We just have different ideas about how to get there or whatever. So I was raised heavy in religion, and which was a wonderful thing. My mom was a preacher's kid, and so she was a traveling evangelist, and my sister and I would travel along with her and sing harmony and join in with the praise and worship. And we traveled all the way, all over Missouri and down here to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and all the way out to Arizona, doing like tent revivals and things like that. It was a blast. So I got to experience like the deep religion of all that. I read the Bible dozens of times, and ended up getting into working for myself as a painter, like painting houses and things like that, and worked in a factory for a while. So I've had a bunch of different jobs and things like that. But all the while, I was sort of a truth seeker. and most of my life was spent in religion, but I always thought outside the box. So there was a lot of debating with friends and family about what I found in the Bible and things like that. But Christianity is really all I've ever been a part of. And so once I kind of got out of religion altogether and kind of went into the spiritual life, Jesus has always been my hero. I just view him much differently than I used to before. More of a role model to follow and to be like, rather than someone to sort of take, all of your wrongdoings, and which that works for some people. I'm not saying it doesn't, actually I had this time of meditation with Jesus where he like told me, hey, I become whatever I need to be for people and things like that. So I'm not down on anybody because some people, he was like letting me know, some people's done things so awful they need me to take it off of them in a figurative sense so they can move on and forgive themselves. So I don't have a problem with any of the views. I'm just sort of speaking from where I'm at with it. It was a stepping stone for where I am now.
Absolutely. What would you say your portal was then?
What would I say the portal was?
Portal. So what the way we talk about it is what awakened you to realize that there's more to the universe than we previously thought?
I would say my big jump was definitely the Mandela Effect. So I heard about it around spring of 2016, but and I looked at it and I thought things had changed, but it wasn't until about a year later, at the beginning of 2017, when I saw The Thinker, and I had already seen the new pose. I just assumed an artist did like a different pose of it, and then I got on that the Lion and the Lamb scripture and the Thinker statue were the two big ones. Once I saw both of those, it changed. I knew, it was real. So I knew about the Mandela Effect for a year, but until you experience something that 100% has changed, and it's like you have that experience of it. People can tell you all day long, but you just have to have that one thing you're sure about change. You know what I mean? And I've had a bunch since then, but those were the two that really were my huge wake up moment.
I don't know if our audience knows because we haven't ever spoken about the Mandela Effect. I don't know if
Oh
you
gosh.
can
Some people are in for a big surprise. Okay, so what the Mandela Effect is, it's very individual, by the way. So if I list some things off here and you're like, no, that's how they've always been, it's okay. It's like I might list 10 things and only one thing seems changed. So just because one person sees a change doesn't mean everybody that sees changes sees that particular change. So what the changes I'm talking about is, if you remember something being a certain way, and then you go look at it and it's changed, you might think, oh, if it's a logo, you might think the company changed the logo, or it's a different version of the movie than what you remembered, or maybe the product changed, or whatever it is. But you'll look into the history of it and find it's never existed in the way you remember it. So I'll give a few examples. Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. This is a really good one because everybody knows Stouffer's stovetop stuffing typically. Well, Stouffer's has never owned stovetop stuffing in this reality. So we all might remember it being Stouffer's stovetop stuffing, but you'll go look and you'll see it's owned by Kraft now. And of course, everybody thinks, well, Kraft must have bought them out. But when you look at history, Stouffer's has never owned stovetop stuffing. So things in history change. It can be movies like Luke, I Am Your Father, never existed. It's now No, I Am Your Father, Darth Vader to Luke Skywalker. The JFK assassination with the limousine, there are now 6 individuals in the car, where a lot of people remember 4. Just JFK and his wife, and then 2 more people in the front. Some people remember 2 Secret Service. Some people remember one was the governor and a Secret Service, but a lot of people don't remember that there was a whole nother woman in the car and a whole nother guy, and there were 6 people in the limousine now. So that's a big trip. I've seen people's eyes get really big on that one because, you see it, and a lot of us have seen those clips over the years, over and over and over again. And now you can't find that clip that you remember. Other things are songs changing. One of the good ones I like is the City of Angels, is in the Red Hot Chili Pepper song. He used to sing the City of Angels, talking about Los Angeles, but now he says City of Angel, like singular. So some of them are really minor changes. The Home Depot used to be Home Depot without the in front of it. Now they all have the in front of it. So it's the Home Depot. So really thousands of changes. Our heart used to be on the left side. of our chest. Now it's like in the middle. It's more aligned with our chakra. So I feel like these are upgrades. I feel like they're wake up calls. Yeah, so there's a lot of things I could go on and on for the. I do have a playlist for those that want to. It's like goes over the top 10, but like people that remember the Lion and the Lamb, the lion shall lie down with the lamb. It's now the wolf too shall dwell with the lamb, and then it mentions the lion later in that verse. So it's that lion and the lamb scripture is different, even though there's like organizations named after it. There's statues. At first, when I first saw it, there'd be paintings of like lions and lambs, and they'd have the scripture, just that one line of the lion shall lie down with the lamb, but there would be a wolf on there, and it would be really creepy. You know what I mean? It's really creepy. So if you guys, for those who haven't heard about it, it can like kind of creep you out at first, but it's really okay. It's only natural to feel fearful when you see something changing in a way that you feel is impossible, but it's a paradigm shifting phenomenon, because as soon as you realize what's happening, you realize that your reality can change right before you. And if you default to it being a benevolent source, which I feel like if something was after us, it wouldn't be changing little things to get our attention. It would be creating a hole underneath us and dropping us in it or something horrible, right? If it was after us. So I feel like it's a benevolent force just trying to wake us up a little bit. For a lot of the people in our group, it's been a huge wake up call. And if they can change reality right in front of us, what can't they change? You know, so I believe that we have help. And this is sort of this whole matrix we find ourselves in. It's like a classroom, and we're here to learn and experience and get beyond our fears and be bold in our growth.
The other day we were at a staff meeting, and one of the girls in the staff meeting said, if you build it, they will come. And my husband and I kind of looked at each other and we laughed a little bit, right? That is. And everyone, of course, in the staff meeting is like, wait, what are you guys laughing at? You know? And we were thinking amongst ourselves, we were like trying to communicate with each other, like, is it time? Should we say it? Should we let the cat out of the bag? Should we like blow their reality up, you know?
Right.
And so we ended up telling him, and we were like, have you heard of the Mandela Effect? We kind of explained it to him. And what was really fascinating to me is that one girl didn't seem to care. Like she saw it and she was like, oh, that's weird. But everyone else was like, whoa, oh my gosh. Like, and I sent him your playlist actually.
Oh, you did? Okay, awesome.
Yeah. But I'm wondering if you have any theories as to why some people really are affected and other people are more like, oh, that's weird, you know, or they don't see it at all.
Right. I feel like at first I felt like, you know, there's sort of, they got the download. You'll hear a lot of people in the community say that because, and I've gotten it too, what you would typically think of as a download. And what that means is you'll remember something the original way, but all of a sudden the new version seems familiar to you. And you're like, why does the new version feel familiar? But the old, I know it used to be this way, but why does this also feel right? You know? And with music, I would think like, well, maybe the first time around in the chorus, he sings it this way. And the second time he sings it this way. And so your brain comes up with little things to sort of make sense of things being different. So if you don't know it's happening, you could be walking through like two of my kids worked at a grocery store and they didn't hardly notice any of the grocery store stuff because they're walking by the Fruit Loops box and their brain is like kind of overriding, you know, because they're not really paying attention. Nobody really pays attention. You're not really, but your subconscious sees it and it starts making it look okay. So I think a little bit of that is at play, but I feel like people just, if it's going to trip them up on their journey and not help them, they just won't see it, you know, if they're not ready to see it, or if it freaks them out too bad, or if they're not stable enough. That's sort of how I think it works. I think it's really selective in that way, you know, if you're ready or not. It's really up to the individual.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you think this is something that's happened throughout history, Shane? Like, you know, Egyptian hieroglyphics have changed over time. Do you think things like that have shifted?
Yeah, I really do. I feel like it's been going on for a while. I feel like it's happening more now, but there's people that talk about, you know, remembering like celebrity. That's another one, celebrity deaths. Like people might remember someone. That's why it's named the Mandela Effect, because a lot of people remembered him dying in the late 80s, early 90s in prison. And then they find out he died in 2013, Nelson Mandela, I'm speaking of. And they're like, wait, I thought he died a long time ago or whatever. So discrepancies in that, you know, where like Billy Graham's died a couple of times for people and different things like that, you know.
Yeah. You've been talking a lot lately about the messages behind things, like for instance, music coming into your reality right when you need a message. Maybe.
Oh yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah. I mean, the whole idea of retrocausality, right?
Mm-hmm.
But do you also think that do you see it as being our spirit guides talking to us, or do you see it as our higher selves talking to us?
I think it really depends. I just recently had a session with Allison Coe. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she does BQH sessions and things like that. And she gave me a session, and in that session, it sort of came out how this works. Let me first explain what a BQH session is, just so people understand. So if people have heard of Dolores Cannon, she does the QHHT sessions, and what it is basically you get into this deep meditative state with someone, and you sort of guide them through a journey. A lot of times it's into like a lifetime, a past lifetime. I've had people directly channel like higher level beings, like in real time. I've had a lot of really cool stuff happen during the BQH sessions. So you were talking about, I totally lost my train of thought.
If you were thinking
The
that
song messages?
yes, song messages.
Right. Okay. So in that session, I had gotten a song message a while back from, it was just early morning, and I turned on the radio, and there's old Olivia Newton-John song is playing called Magic. And I'm listening to the words, and while I'm listening to all the words, they were really speaking to me, and I got this nostalgia of remembering putting the needle on the record as a little 8-year-old or something, and playing this exact record, and all of these memories flood back in. Well, in that session with Allison Coe, it came up that was actually a message from my mom, who's passed away. She passed away when I was 19, but she gave me that message in that moment to make me realize, because in the lyrics of that song, it's talking about, we're guiding you. We've always been here from where we stand. You're home free. Just keep your aim headed in the right direction. All these positive things, but it's like, it was such a profound thing in that moment to receive that message. So I think we get it from our guides, angels, cosmic and soul family, or I think of it as an agency rather than getting into the individuals of it, because I've noticed that like if you're sort of asking for assistance, like healing, there's people that know that's like Archangel Raphael or whoever. I don't know who it is, but I think you can be specific about it, but I don't think you have to be. I think just your intentions will send it to the right place. So I tend not to get too focused on any individual, because what if you send it to the wrong person, right? You think Jesus is going to be like, oh man, Jesus is the one that takes the will. You should have asked for Jesus, or whatever. So I don't think it really matters. I know it does for some people, and that's okay. I think if you ask Jesus through the Holy Spirit or whatever, you'll get your assistance. But at the same time, if you just cry out from your heart to a higher benevolent source, God, or whatever you want to call it, I don't think it falls on deaf ears. I think you're heard. It's an agency is how I kind of view it.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Where should we go from here?
I kind of want to talk about the Matrix.
Okay.
Yes.
Your theories about the Matrix and about reality as we know it, or think we know it.
Right. So I kind of come from the perspective, and I like to play with this, and I'm not dogmatic about it either. I'm very open-minded to any suggestions. And if anybody finds ways that this doesn't work, I'm totally all ears, right? But I find that even if it isn't exactly true, it's an optimal way of thinking about things. Because if you take life, I've had plenty of jobs I hated to do, but as soon as I turn it into like a game, like I've got to pack all these boxes up, I've got to unpack this stuff, I got to, whatever it is that you got to do, and it's mundane and boring or whatever, but maybe you're trying to beat the clock. And I was probably horrible to work with, because if there was nothing else to do, I just play with speed, and the other coworkers are like, dude, slow down, but yeah, so I was always about making a game out of things. And I think with that perspective on life, and not that it's not serious at times, but there's a certain level of peace, and that you can realize that, on one level, even if I lost my body, if I died or whatever, there's part of me that's going to live on. And I actually have feelings that, well, like think about the whole chicken and the egg scenario, right? I think we have so many things right in front of us that are sort of pointing at the fact that this is a continuous thing. Because how can you have the chicken or the egg? Which one's going to come first, you know, or the seed in the tree? And it's right in front of us. I think if we look right in front of us, we can see that everything was here already. Like when a game is made and you go into this 3D world, and maybe it has a backstory to it. You know, maybe we lived from the time we were born up until now, but maybe we just started at our awakening and all of that was preloaded on. We don't know for sure. It might feel real, right? But whenever we play a game, we start at the exciting part, and then like the backstory is sort of filled in, the memories are filled in within that game environment, you know. And then you start your awakening, you start your game, and that's the exciting part, you know. And having that approach to it really removes the fear out of it, because now you're like an active part in it rather than a victim in the system. And I use the Pac-Man analogy for that. I think is real helpful.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you've had previous lives? Are you aware of any that you've had? I mean, we always, if you think about time as being linear, I guess.
Well, it's funny. In that session I just had, because I was telling Allison before I did it, I don't ever remember. I can't imagine being a woman. So my life, I went back to, and I was a little girl in the 40s, and I guess my father had died in the war, and my mom was watching me, or I'm sorry, she was letting my grandma watch me, and I got this close connection with that grandma, and I ended up, you know, I lived I was kind of a nerd, and I was into math and science and never really had a social life. And I was trying to figure out you know, the answer of life using more of a left brain approach. And it was kind of shown how this life I'm more balanced, and how I kind of could have got stuck in that rut of being more left brain. And you have to see things, you have to be able to put it in a formula. And for anybody that knows, you just can't figure things out in a completely left brain way. You have to use your right brain, your heart, you know.
Interesting, you were a girl in that life and very left-brained, right?
Right. That's funny. I
Yeah,
thought the same thing. Yeah. Yeah. And I had, all my friends were nerdy guys and stuff. And I just had to laugh because I ended up dying in that life, like old and lonely and still like worrying about the problems that I never figured out, you know. But that was the lesson I learned in that life. So I feel like we do gain experience, and we learn that, you know, I kind of, in that life, I let love go because of being hurt by my grandma leaving me. And I just never wanted to make a connection with people after that, because I think I was like 7 when she passed away. So I went down the wrong road in that life. And I think that's what helps us in following lives. But I got to see this life before I came in here. And that's what was really cool. I was like this little kid, probably maybe 6 to 8 years old, and I'm wearing like this white gown. I couldn't tell if I was a boy or a girl, or maybe even androgynous. And my skin was sort of golden, and I couldn't make myself out because I was sort of shimmying in the light. And I knew I was in this field of flowers. I knew this was the last stop before I went in this incarnation that I'm currently in. And I was sort of joking with myself that I'm going to remember, right? Like, because that's part of the forgetting process. It was like my last time before forgetting. But she took me back to like, did you get to see any of the planning phase? And as soon as she said that, I could see myself looking at like a projection of myself as a child with my parents there, like looking at the life I was about to go into. But of course, you don't get to carry that with you. But yeah, I think we plan our parents out. I think we plan everything out, and we do have free will from that level. But I think down in here, if you get too far off track, your higher self, which is actually you, you know, keeps you within the boundaries of what you're supposed to be experiencing. So I think you can get stuck and you can lag and fall behind maybe a little bit, but that's only within the structure of time. You know, it's like we think of wasting time, but there's really no time. So it's not wasted ever, even if you have to do it a million times. Hopefully we don't. But
Are you here for the Great Awakening, or do you think you're here at this exact time for a purpose?
definitely here for the Great Awakening. Yeah.
Can you expand more about your theories about what the Great Awakening is? And
Well, the way that, put quite simply, I see it as the evolution of human consciousness, moving from sort of the matrix consciousness into the Christ or cosmic consciousness, however people want to view that. It's where you're more in service to others rather than service to self. This planet's been real selfish, driven by the selfish, masculine, out of whack, So we need to bring all that balance back with the masculine and the feminine to where we're not like, having wars or all of this stuff that we see, people starving on the planet and things like that. I think once the divine feminine's here and we have more of the nurturing and the caring and the loving, most of us don't want to live on a planet with people that are starving or homeless. You know what I mean? So I think that's really what it's about. And I think, where people try to change the institutions, I think once we change our consciousness and it evolves far enough, I believe we'll see what doesn't work. And I think if we just try to change it from the bottom up, you're gonna get more corrupt people in there. I think it has to be a top-down approach. So really that's what I feel like us light workers, as we're called oftentimes, or star seeds, are here to do, is just help raise the vibration to a point where people can begin to, the awareness will broaden to where they can see that these systems aren't working anymore, And I think we're seeing that. That's what this is. I feel like we're seeing it all getting torn down right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you feel different after the 21st?
I've been excited leading up to it. I've been probably about let's say a week before. Yeah, about a week leading up to it is when I started feeling amped up. And I've been feeling great. So I know other people are feeling drained. And I guess I go through a little bit of that too, but other people are like going on less sleep. So I think it's an individual right, with how you take the energies,
Yeah. Shar and I have been talking a lot because we've been noticing the light ever since the summer. The light outside looks so different. I mean, we always joke, we're like, it looks like we're living in a filter, like an Instagram filter.
Right.
Have you noticed that too?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that because I just picked my wife up from work yesterday and I was like, look at the sky. And it's like so filled with, I don't know, dust or something, that the sun looks like it's way bigger than usual. And it almost looks like the color of the light that reflects off a penny. It's not quite yellow. It's not quite orange. It's kind of this weird coppery color, a very strange filter, especially when it gets closer to the sunset,
Yeah.
it's not the regular yellow. I mean, we've kind of lost our yellow sun. Like I remember it growing up. It used to be yellow when it was high overhead. Now it's like white looking, and it might look yellow or orange towards the evening or morning time, but yeah, it's lost its yellow. It's really white now when you look up in the middle of the day. Have you guys noticed?
Yeah, and there's
Oh,
a ring around it too, and a ring around the moon, which is really fascinating.
yeah.
Do you have
White and rainbow halos. Yeah.
Do you have any theories on what that could be?
I used to go down more the negative path, that it was something they were spraying. I think that won't trigger anything. But now, what I thought, so I guess I was on the way back from Sedona on a trip, and there was this factory that was pumping out all this steam. It was really early in the morning. And when the sun like caught it a certain way, I saw it looked all rainbowy like the clouds. I was like, it's not what they're spraying. Clearly, it's like the light. I feel like once I saw that, I felt like I was actually being shown that to let me know it's the sun's light that you've already noticed. It looks different. Well, it's making the clouds look different too. So I think the sun's allowing through a fuller spectrum of all of the bands of light, because technically white is like all of them. So whenever it gets like refracted or whatever the word for it is with rainbows or whatever the particulates are up there, and it hits it a certain way and you see colors, that's getting really vivid these days.
Do you think the electromagnetic field's different around the earth, possibly?
It is different. I've been keeping an eye on it, but as I think we're so affected by it, and so is our vibration. And I've been changing so much in the last few years that I can't really say, I don't really hit those low lows like I used to. I've learned to catch myself with the I am discourse. So if I kind of feel like I'm going south, I know to immediately take back my sovereignty and all of that stuff. I didn't know that in 2017. So, and I've got a playlist. So if anybody hits those low lows, that will at least keep you from bottoming out, as I say, or whatever. But I had like my one dark night of the soul going right before I realized the Mandela Effect was happening. And I had some low times after that, but nothing like that particular, what I call the dark night of the soul. you know, it was just awful. But yeah, once I did the I Am discourse though, and it's just saying, you know, proclamations of, you know, your own sovereignty and taking that back and realizing that, you know, exterior forces, if an exterior force brings you down, like if somebody yells at you and you get upset, it's really your choice as to whether or not you get upset. I know it's like, I can't help it if somebody yells at me, but you can help it if you get upset by it, you know? So it's really learning to keep that inner peace and not let all the exterior things, which we're really totally getting all these exterior things thrown at us right now. You know, it's really chaotic out there, and it's hard to find that grounded space if you're not used to doing that. And I think that's where it's going to really benefit a lot of us in this community who's sort of been practicing this for a while now, you know, and getting the word out to others about spending time, you know, finding that peace.
Do you think getting to a certain vibration, we talk about this, Shar and I do a lot, about once you get to a certain vibration, then it's kind of like exponentially ascending instead of being held down in the fear base?
I do believe that. Yeah, I believe, you know, we can actually achieve 5D now, and everybody else sort of get pulled up with it. And actually, we help the process out when we do that. If we can stay in that. I actually got this, within meditation, I got this little insight where I was seeing the different, like, what we think of as densities or dimensions as floors, and how when we're able to be down here in this lower level, but keep this higher level, it's like we become this pillar of light through the higher dimensions, and others are able to anchor to us, you know, and pull themselves up, you know. So the more of us that can do that, the more opportunities we create on this grid. That's why we're not all next door to each other. I don't think it's any accident that we're all spaced out like we are, you know. It's like hard to find your neighbor that's awake. It's like always somebody across town or across the you know, country or whatever. But I think that's why I think we're like, if you think of us like beacons, or, you know, just these columns of light that are creating this grid around the planet. That's how I view it. And I think the more that we can, you know, realize the distractions are just that, to keep us from being our greatest potential. That's I feel like everything's put here as a distraction, you know, all the rabbit holes. Think about like all the rabbit holes I went in, and none of them ever had an answer, not a conclusive answer about anything. So they're entertaining to go and look at some of the things you can, you know, conspiracies and things like that. But at the end of the day, I think, you know, they're distracting us from something much bigger and more beautiful, you know, that's right here and available to us now.
I had a similar vision. It was kind of, did you watch The Princess Bride a long time ago?
That's funny you mentioned that. I accidentally rented that, or I rented another movie, and that was in the box, and I never watched it, but my kids watched it.
That was the universe telling you to watch it.
I should have.
But it was a picture of, you know, there's the part where they're climbing the rope and they're doing a legless rope climb. And it's a little bit hard. It's a little bit hard to believe that would actually happen, because it's obviously like a 100-foot rope, and you know he's legless the whole time. But I had this vision of light workers, myself and some light workers, climbing this rope legless with a whole string of people underneath, just like hanging on. You know, and it
Yeah.
kind of does feel like that sometimes. You know, like it's not that you want to take on someone's burden, but
Right.
it gets hard to stay positive, doesn't it, as a light worker?
Yeah, I guess it really just depends. I guess where you're putting your focus at, you know, because I guess if I'm watching a lot of media and stuff like that, or if I get on, I've avoided like Facebook and things like that, because I know I get triggered there. And I know a lot of people do a lot of good and have a lot of fun on there, but I know for me, it's almost like an alcoholic not wanting to go to hang out at a bar. You know what I mean? I already know that I'll see a little clip, and, you know,
Yeah.
it will almost override the cute little bunny meme or whatever I saw, you know, just somebody being treated bad or whatever. So I think if we spend too much time in stuff like that, and I think the Matrix is designed to pop these little surprises on you to trigger you, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I guess if I'm feeling brave, I might get on there. But yeah, I think, you know, like I was saying, it's like taking up our our sovereignty, and realizing that our mood and our vibration is really our responsibility. And, you know, doing the things that help that out more, exercise or music or finding messages, because they're always there. I used to think it was something that would happen from time to time, but I feel like it's a stream of really cool Easter eggs that if you can just be in the moment and pay attention, you'll see them all the time, and I'm noticing people. It was yesterday, I was waiting to go to the store, and I guess my wife had said, I'm going to put my shoes on and I'll be ready to go. My daughter said, I'm going to put my shoes on and I'll be ready to go. And then the character on the TV was like, well, let me know when you're ready to go. Right. And it's like, they got all these weird, and they're like, their jaw dropped or whatever, but all these really weird synchronicities. And they're happening way more, just these seemingly impossible synchronistic things happening, and I've been noticing it in all sorts of, it doesn't matter what it is, but if you're paying attention, you'll see it,
Do you think synchronicities have anything to do with your vibration and where you're at?
I think they're signposts. Yeah, definitely. I feel like probably if you get down, you probably wouldn't see as many, because the things that pull you down are, the future and the past, right? Either you're worried about the future, fretting it, or you're regretting something you did in the past. And so you're not in the moment. And the moment, when you look at a clock and it says 11:11, it brings you right back to the moment. You know what I mean? You're like, oh, it's like the clock's staring at me. So yeah, I feel like all synchronicities are like that. But if you stay in the moment, you notice even more. So if you're not in the moment and you notice something, it'll pull you back to the moment, which I think is sort of its purpose. It's like, hey, be in the moment. 11:11 or 1 2 3 4 on the clock or whatever it is, and it just catches your attention, or a license plate in front of you. But yeah, all the time. You can even flip through the radio stations and catch like just a few words of a DJ or a commercial, and it even strings it together in little funny sentences sometimes on accident, right? But yeah, I don't believe in accidents, I guess. I feel like that's one of the reasons for viewing the Matrix like it is. Because you'll notice how much more is there on purpose, just everything's designed.
Yeah, you talked a little bit about vibration and raising your vibration. Do you have what are your favorite ways in which to raise your own vibration?
For me, it's the conscious breath. And it's like anytime I get triggered, like, because while we're here, we're going to get triggered, right? Things are going to happen. It could be somebody cutting you off or anything. But if I'm able to close my eyes, I'll do that. But I'll close my eyes and take a deep breath. And I'll let out a sigh of relief with it. And really feel that relief come over me. And then I'm giving all of my cares to my higher team. And one of the ways I can do that is by looking back and seeing sort of what my plans were for my life and where I ended up. And I know I ended up right where I was supposed to be, even though it wasn't where I intended to go. So I know I've been guided and led all this time. And so I fall back into and relax into that trust. It's not even a faith as much as it is just knowing that I'm going to end up where I'm supposed to be. There's nothing to worry about, and letting go of anything that triggers me in that moment with that conscious breath. And you can do this throughout the day, and immediately you'll feel it come over you. And that adds to the time of meditation and helps me get back to that peace that surpasses all understanding. You can really get there. It's always there. You know what I mean? It's like that's really the foundation of what we are, is that state of peace and the divine bliss. And we like throw all of this baggage on top of it. Right. So it's not so much that we're practicing meditation as much as it is, if we're not meditating, we're practicing being a human being. But that's our natural state,
It's a good point. I hadn't thought of it that way.
We have lots of baggage to get rid of, right? I know I had tons of it, and more pops up all the time to realize. And I think that's what it's all about,
I had something. You mentioned you have kids, and I know you have grandkids too, right?
Right. Yeah. I got 5 kids and 2 grandkids.
Oh my goodness. It's kind of been on my heart a little bit lately. The idea of helping to raise our kids in a way that they still are able to learn their own soul lesson, not interfere too much with their, guide them on a spiritual path, but not interfere with that path.
Right.
It seems to be like an art form, and I don't know if that's something you could feel comfortable sharing or.
Sure. Well, with my kids, let's see. My oldest is 26 and my youngest is 13. So I've grown a lot, right? So my two oldest kids, 26 and 24 now, I was way more religious, right? So they kind of had more of a upbringing like I got, at least while they were younger, and then like my parents did. I was the baby of my family, so of course my siblings were all like always like, you got it so easy. They were so hard on us, and you don't ever have to do anything and all this stuff. But so it's kind of like that with my kids. I've like really I give them almost complete freedom as long as they're not harming anybody or harming themselves or whatever. And I try to encourage them wherever, in whatever their endeavors are. And they're into art and music and things like that. And I just try to be supportive and love them. Um, and, just point things out to them like options. If I see them maybe trying to make a choice, I don't really try to push them one way or the other. I just try to give them their, the options that I'm aware of and some of the outcomes, and then try to get them to trust their heart, because ultimately I believe our heart will guide us if we are led by our heart.
How much do you tell them or about your theories and the concepts of the matrix and reincarnation and that type of stuff?
Yeah, they think I'm crazy probably. Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, I talked to them a little bit, but yeah, they're not very receptive to anything. They're kind of eye rollers and stuff when it comes to stuff. But I get it. They're just not ready for it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's
Fun
something
though.
that Leah and I actually, we talk about. I love that we can talk to each other about all of these big ideas and big things that are going on in our realities and consciousness. And it's really interesting that when we go and we try and talk to other people about it, it's just a different experience. And there's like this balancing point where we're like, should we step into this and talk about it with people, or should we just stay back here? And
I think it's a learning process. And even with, I follow that rule for myself with getting involved with their life, follow my heart, and just try to be there as more of a supportive role. And because typically if you try to push one way, especially with teenagers, they're going to go the other way typically. So I try not to push one way or the other. I just try to give them their options, um, and any kind of advice I have if I've gone through something similar, but I try to give them complete freedom to make their choices. But like I said, they're older now, so you can't really do that when they're like 8.
Yeah.
5.
Do they watch your
Right.
show and know about the Mandela Effect and everything like that, or?
Yeah, like at first they were, kind of eye rolling about it, but I think all of them at some point now has come to me and noticed something, changed. Like, I'm pretty sure this changed. I remember this being like this, and this, and so they notice stuff. They've noticed stuff, which is cool. My son right off the bat knew, like Pikachu's tell. He had this story where he was like, he needed to color it in because the teacher was like, hey, you need to wrap it up, guys. Class is ending. It was like the end of the day art class. And he had to color in the tell. It's no accident, you know what I mean? That he had to color that tell in and make that little memory note so that he would be able to experience the Mandela effect. And you're like, oh my gosh, I remember this happening. So yeah, I feel like it's all orchestrated. Things are put in place to awaken us and to be little signposts. And it's just a matter of paying attention.
Can you tell us about, you do the Bhq sessions, right? Or
BQH, yeah. So it's been really eye-opening to experience just as a practitioner, because I was able to learn the whole thing from home, and I was really hungry to learn, and I got it done in like 2 weeks and started practicing, and I kind of felt like I had to do something, but once I got in there, I realized it's sort of, there's like a whole team of higher individuals. So the person's team steps in, and it's almost like we're just getting out of the way. You know what I mean? So you don't really have to do anything. It's like you just follow the system, trust the system. And then now I know I've built faith after doing it, several sessions. There's a whole team that's just waiting to give this person their journey and show them what they need to see. You don't have to do anything. You're just helping them stay out of their left brain, basically, and stay in their right brain. So you ask the questions, and and then you record it for them. And it's usually it's about an hour of interview and another couple hours for the session. So it's really cool. And, I really actually recommend people, the course is like $300, 333. And you can actually just go take it, learn how to do it. And you can give it to like family members and things like that. It's just something that's nice to have in your toolbox because of the price. It's just so cheap to know how to do it. Even if you don't want to do it for a living, you could do it with family members or whenever there's get-togethers. I know there's a lot more people doing get-togethers, and it's something that's great to offer. If somebody does Reiki, then you can do a BQH for them, and there's a lot of trading that goes on in the community and stuff. So it's just something to have that's nice to have in the toolbox. But it's been a huge eye-opening experience for me to see all of this amazing things. I've had telepathy happen. I've had getting little downloads in the middle of a session to where they're they're telling the person something and the person's seeing something, and then I get like a picture in my mind of it, not realizing that they sent it to me. I thought my imagination created it, but I said, oh, I see. Yes, you see. And then I realized they sent me the image, and I was like, wow. So I've had a lot of really cool things like that happen. That's really brought in. I was pretty left brain, you know what I mean? So I needed these things to help expand even what's possible.
What kinds of things do people come to you for? Clients, if they call you to get a session, like what kinds of things would they visit you?
Most people are wanting insight for, like life purpose and maybe job or relationship or just all the typical things people want to know, you know what I mean? Or maybe health or healing. There's been some miraculous healings that happen and clearings and things like that during sessions. So really there's a broad range. You can actually get on YouTube and look up sessions, and um, there's one YouTuber, Alba Wyman, that does sessions. I don't think it's BQH or QHHC, but they're all really similar. But you can see some of these amazing sessions taking place. I had a wonderful experience while watching one of her videos where the lady was talking to her deceased mom, and the mom was saying these wonderful things to her, and I could feel that I felt my mom was saying those things to me just while I was listening to it, and so there's so many amazing things that happen in these sessions, and you can really, the connection between us and the higher realms becomes really obvious.
So maybe could you see Akashic records as well when you're doing a session?
The person probably could, but it's more like it feels to me more like it's guided from their higher self or their higher team to whatever they really need at that time. Because I've had people have like a list of questions of what they want answered, and what comes through is they don't even touch on any other questions. They have all this other stuff they want them to know, and then nothing about a previous life, or that maybe they're wanting to know, like, did I have a previous life in Egypt or something like that, and it's interesting, but they have other things they want you to worry about, I guess. So you never know. I always tell people not to have too many expectations. It's good to have questions to go in with, because sometimes people, if they're not able to connect really deep or they're having a difficult time, sometimes you can just give them their questions during the session and let them think about it, and something can come through, so. Yeah, it's a lot of amazing things happening in these sessions that prove beyond a shadow of a doubt there's way more going on than what we're told.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else that you would like our listeners to know? Anything you want to share?
Well, we have a great community at Unbiased and on the Fence. Like-minded people that get together and chat, and then you can connect that with us people on Facebook. I mentioned I'm not on there very much, but there's a large group of people that are, and they like to send things back and forth. So there's a community. You don't have to feel alone. Just like we're connecting up, and I think there's a lot of little communities, and we're sort of needing to bridge that gap between them at this time, because a lot of the algorithms might keep that from happening naturally. But we can share videos or collaborate like we're doing now and get the word out, sharing links and things like that. And I think that's really the best way to connect up right now. I think it's all about connection. So.
And you have a book too, right?
Yeah, I've got I've got Mandela Effect, Friend or Foe. I'm a co-author with Eileen Colt Coates, Vanessa VA, who was just on with me a few nights ago, and Paulo Pinto. And we all have our parts of the book. And so it's a really comprehensive look into the Mandela Effect. So anybody interested in that, you can go on Amazon and find that book. And it's really a good look at a lot of the different effects as well as what could be possibly causing them, because nobody really knows. It's still an open-ended question, but I feel like it's a positive thing. And I feel like actually, if you look at it as a positive thing, you'll see it as a positive thing, but there's many people that look at it negatively. And, that's sort of what the matrix is designed to give back to them, So I feel like it's sort of like a mirror. You're going to get back what you're looking for. But
Well said.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you, Shane, so much for sharing your wisdom with us today here on Cosmic Soul Sisters. We're very grateful that you're here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's show, please like and subscribe to our channel, and go over to Shane's channel as well and check out. He has so many amazing videos on there, and we'll drop the link down below so everyone can see that. And did you have anything else, Leo?
No, I feel good.
Great.
Well, thank you guys. Lots of love.
Yeah,
Thank
lots of
you.
love to you too. Thank you, Shane.
All right. Well, we're Leah and Shara, Cosmic Soul Sisters, and we're sending love and light to all of you. Until next time.
Bye for now.